Thank you for joining us at our HEM Education Marketing Solutions webinar titled Navigating the Future of Google Search, Impacts and Strategies for Education. We're glad you joined us. My name is Scott Cross. I oversee our sales in the North American region, and I've been with HEM for 6 years, almost 7. If you're not familiar with HEM, I want to tell you a little about us before we get started. Really all of the content you're about to see comes from the expertise of our teams who do this. And our teams have worked in digital marketing, online marketing for schools, exclusively for schools, for 15 years. We work for all types of schools, so they could be K-12s, language schools, vocational or career colleges, universities, graduate schools, any level, public or private. We work with schools around the world and in multiple languages. And it's that focus in the education sector that really, it's an important expertise to understand, especially in the e-commerce marketplace. So that's our specialty. And these you see on the left are our services. We work a la carte, so we could do one of these or more than one or all of these with your existing marketing team to be that extension of your marketing team. So that's us, and today's topic is a rich one. No pun intended. It's ever evolving, and it's at our fingertips every day. So we're going to talk about search engine results pages, SERPs, and we're going to talk about search engines and basically what can make you most visible in search. We're going to talk about how AI has crawled in and is becoming a part of everything we do every day in search. And then we'll end up focusing on best SEO practices for your school. And as we do it at HEM, everything is focused towards schools and understanding best practices in the education marketplace. So let me get some thoughts out of the way in terms of just logistics. First of all, we are recording this webinar, and that means that either tomorrow or Monday, you will receive in your email the recording of this webinar. You'll also receive the deck that we're walking through here. So you'll get all this content. There's no need to take notes currently. So the other element is we have you on mute. That allows me to kind of plow through the content. So we appreciate your understanding there. But we know you'll have questions. And so what I recommend is you go into the bar in your the menu bar in Zoom and find the Q&A and type in your questions. You can type them in during the webinar. So type it in as you think it. That way, at the end, I'm going to open that up and I'm going to answer your questions. So please do. Please type in your questions. We hope you do. We're going to start in some really basic terms here. What are search engine results pages? Well, these are the pages that appear when someone types in a search. We're going to focus solely on Google as an example here throughout the entirety of our webinar. When you do a Google search on the results page, you first see the paid responses. So these are ads, and then you also see the organic. So the ads and the naturally occurring answers to your query are all going to appear together on the same search engine results page. It's all there. The ads, of course, are identified as being sponsored. You see that highlighted in the blue box. These ads here are the ones that are categorized as pay per click, so PPC. So that means it's going to appear when someone searches, and the only time that someone has to pay for their placement of the ad is if I, as the user, were to click on this ad to learn more. Now, we're going to focus most of our time, really all of our time, in the organic part of all the results here on the SERP. And the organic results could be very basically the standard listings, what your web page would look like as a result in that search. You're also going to see featured snippets. So these are those brief answers to your query, basically just answering your question, including a link to the source of the answer. And then you've got rich results, which, as you see in this case, it's just adding the ratings and reviews at the bottom of it. So this is a little more of a rich result beyond just the basic standard listing. There are multiple types of rich results, and this is really what we're going to focus on. A great deal of the work we're going to talk about today has to do with having you visible within these rich results, because you also have something called the knowledge graph, which you've typically seen. It's in that right margin of your search results page, and it's just that general, image, map, description, address, phone, that type of thing, the basic listing, if you will, of your school. You also have things like image and video packs. If it's a particularly visual inquiry, you want to be there in part of the results that are going to show those visual aspects of it. There are also local packs, which are going to answer your query, whether it's something about schools near me, or you could just type, you're searching for private schools for grade 8, and this would come up because this is where Google sees that you're searching from. So that's where the local pack is. And not everybody is listed here, but you want to be listed here. And people also ask, so these are another rich result, which I'm sure you've seen, and they're super engaging, right? They're basically, hey, did you mean this type of question? Did you mean that type of question? Some of these suggestions maybe match more what your intent was for the query. When you click on it, it opens up a quick snippet of the answer and the hyperlink to the source of that answer. So that's a very engaging, rich result. Why are these features or rich results so important? Well, it's a bit self-explanatory, but it really makes point when you break it down. Of course, there's increased visibility. So above and beyond your standard listing will still be there, your website listing. But any or each of these rich results, these features, will appear before your standard listing typically. Sometimes people also ask, we'll sink down a little bit, but typically it's going to be a larger, more visual, more engaging option as an answer to their question. And it's rich with information, right? It's got much more in-depth and quick and helpful information right off the bat, beyond just here's a hyperlink to my website. That visibility in the rich results, the features, it communicates authority. It really is a place of, well, we have the answer for you. We're featured at the top of this search. And so people are going to read into that for sure. And it communicates ultimately and builds user trust, right? So they're going to see that you're a respected group that's being referred to many times in these rich results. And so that in itself is going to communicate trust. So you're standing out, which is, it's exactly what you want to do in this whole world of organic search. It's also important because it helps to, and we'll show you, more later, but it helps to make you more visible in voice searches, because these, basically will translate, if you will, in voice search results. And ultimately, it means higher engagement, a higher click-through rate, or CTR. So people are going to click on your links wherever they're visible, more likely, and this is, statistically true. And you're going to be getting more targeted traffic, basically the people who are truly interested to learn more, who are searching for that school, that program for themselves, their child. That's going to be the people who click through, fill out a form, and those are the folks you want coming to your website. As we typically do in our HEM webinars, we ask you guys some questions. So we first want to begin with a simple one, right? How would you rate your expertise in SEO? So we've really just begun to cover some basics here. So think about, and this is all anonymous, so we don't know who's saying what, but tell us about yourselves. This helps us to understand our audience here. It also kind of helps you to see who's here, where everyone's from schools to some degree or another, and you get to see who's going. So the votes are coming in hot and heavy. Thank you for your engagement. We appreciate you being here with us. It's a good time to remind you, you'll get a recording of this webinar in your email. All right, so let's share those results. Awesome. Here we go. So a majority of you are in the beginner place with, closely followed by intermediate. So you have a pretty good understanding. And just one of you is thinking you're at the expert level. Okay, good to know. Good to know. It's going to get, the information we have here is, it gets involved, but it's interesting because as I really kind of pursed through all this, as involved as it gets, it really reiterates a lot of the core and I'll say simple aspects of SEO. They come right back up to the top. So it's not as if we're going to dive deep and get super crazy technical and then deeper and deeper and deeper. It's just that everything's going to come up back up to the top. It's actually quite interesting. So thank you for voting. So it's important to look and consider to look at the recent changes in SEO and SERP features, for example. So keep in mind, this is just a snapshot of the past little more than a year. And there have already been 4 major updates that have taken place. So that really just tells you if we were to extend this into 5 years or 10 years, it would be countless updates. These updates evolve and come in regularly, and they're major. So we're going to walk through a few of these. I mean, really, they touch on reviews. So it was, that first one was more about reviews. The second one was more about the content, what's in the content, and is it relevant to the query and trying to match those more. The third one was a core review that really drilled down into, is the content specifically helpful to the user? And then the fourth one that you see there is more about AI. We're gonna walk through each of these one by one, and just to give you an idea of the past, year or so of updates. This reviews update, for example, really expanded the role, visibility, and importance of reviews. Reviews are nothing new here, right? And reviews have been visible for a long time, but now they're even more easily included in your rich results. So they're of greater importance to you. So they're not going away. In fact, they're taking, a greater stage, and it's important that we keep reviews top of mind for your graduating students, for your alumni, and for your families for that matter. That first helpful content update really focused on making sure there was high quality, user-centric content. The relevance really coming down to, it's important that your content be distributed in a way or seen in a way that's detailed yet digestible. So this bullet point answer to a query is a perfect example of something that people would quickly scan and easily consider, and then likely click on the hyperlink because it was just super helpful, quick and easy and digestible. This deeper core content update focused then more about the writing of pieces, blog posts, articles on your website, and it applied a new acronym EEAT. It's ensuring that the content communicates experience over time, expertise in the subject matter, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So it's kind of one of those things you're like, yeah, of course I want to communicate that. But when you put that up against your actual post and the content on your web page, it is helpful to really make sure that all these things are being communicated. In this next core update, AI-powered search results now became, more a part of it. So basically, AI became more of just the organic Google search in the background, if you will, and it really helped to more closely match the search results to the search query. As you see here, the query and the result, and the bottom is the actual page of the result. They match just in the most perfect way. So, and that's exactly what we want as schools, right? We want to make sure that what we write answers someone's really relevant question about looking for your school, your type of program, and this will really help you to do that. Okay, so now we've kind of gone through some of the core aspects of what you need to do to kind of keep up with the evolving aspects and nature of search, we want to ask you one more question. We want to understand in your day-to-day, what's the biggest challenge you face when it comes to improving your school's visibility on SERP, on search engine results pages? Is it creating high quality content? Is it collecting and showcasing authentic reviews? Is it keeping up with keyword ranking and those frequent algorithm updates? Or is it implementing coding that might make you more visible? So please again vote here. So those most recent updates touch on most of these. And so we're interested to know, does any one of these stand out as the toughest aspect of doing this for you? Thank you all for voting. They're coming flying in. All right, now it's time to share the results. And we see that most of you are challenged by keeping up with keyword ranking and frequent algorithm updates. That's a great question and a great, a very likely element. The others, creating the high quality content, collecting and showcasing the reviews, there are a lot of logistics involved there. There's just time and effort that really has to, and a bit of know-how in terms of where do I go to find the, the best keywords, understand the rankings and how that's changing. So that's good to know. And the few of you who have mentioned the technical SEO aspects will actually touch on a bit of that later in the webinar. So thank you again for voting. Okay, so let's talk about the role of AI in SERPs. It's again ever evolving, and it's actually quite interesting. So it's growing, especially in Google. So I guess it's important to understand, Google search is organic, and although, as I mentioned, there's a little AI in the background, it's not acting as a large language model. It's not acting as ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Perplexity. So it's really its own and the original, right, search engine. Though in the US specifically, and it's being released outward and outward and outward, over time in the next year or so. In Google search, you can type in a regular query and Google AI overviews are going to kick in. So they're active in the US, and this is what they look like on the right. When you do a query, it's going to, in some cases, not all, it's going to kick in with AI overviews, which is really just a very specific answer to your question with it's multimodal, so it's going to be images and text, and it's going to have links ultimately to the source. So if you click on that little down caret, it's going to take you to the link, a little more information about the source and where that comes from. So it's this mix of AI being injected into Google search. Again, it's called AI overviews, and it's in the States, and soon it will be in other countries. It's really quite interesting as they've implemented that into it. And just the use of things like this and things like ChatGPT and the others, the use of AI more broadly has really changed organic search to a degree that it's making a greater variety of websites more visible. So this is good news for you. It's not just the top dogs that are getting the top spot, but especially in these rich results and these SERP features, you can be more visible there, and you have a good shot at that. The longer tail keywords are being, well, they're more often in play. So people are asking a more specific question instead of just a 3-word query. It's a 8 or 10-word query that's got some phrases mashed together. And that is interesting because it's bringing up a more specific question and a more specific answer. So therefore, more complex questions are being asked and answered, and they're going to have clicks on those that are of higher quality. This takes us right back to the writing of content that is user-centered and clear, easily digestible. So I find that really interesting. So you go to the full-on Google AI channel, which is called Gemini. So this is an advanced AI model developed by Google And its functionality is really to be what's called multimodal, so that the answer to your question has text, it has images, it might have videos, it has bullet points. It's kind of a mix of all those things. And it has a link to its primary source. It might have multiple links if it's a really in-depth question. That's kind of the all-in AI, and that's available, around the world. So what this really brings to us is an enhanced understanding and relevance of knowing that AI technologies enable searches to better understand the context and the intent behind the person who's searching. So you kind of want to stop and think about that a bit. It's not just a search and an answer, or it's not just a search. And here are a whole bunch of website options, hundreds of website options that you could choose from to answer your question. It's really leading us to a more accurate and relevant search result. And like we said, it's going to increase user satisfaction and engagement, so that when they click, it's such a more detailed search. And if you provide that detailed answer, it's going to really connect them with you, the user with you. It's improving the way that search engines handle what we're calling multimodal content. There is text, images, video, and audio all in one place, all in one answer. So it's really going to be less likely kind of tabbing across your search results, across videos, news, they're all going to be in one place. That's really where we're heading. So again, it's a richer, more diverse presentation, and you need to think about, can I be, and are we yet as a school visible in all those ways? What this means for you is exactly what we were just saying. You want to create content that demonstrates that expertise, that experience, that authoritativeness, that trustworthiness. You want to make sure you have placements in YouTube, on your website, across the board, with videos, with infographics, with interactive content, above and beyond the articles that you write on your website, which remain super relevant. Basically, the use of the AI-powered tools are going to streamline SEO efforts. They're going to bring a whole lot of valuable content and engaging of prospective students. And it's going to, like we say, keep getting kind of intermixed, where AI and Google search are going to really more closely intertwine. And we just recommend that you look for tools. For example, here's a very simple link to a very simple keyword tool that for those of you who are looking for keywords, and it's a majority of you, right? So this is a great link. When you get the deck tomorrow or Monday in your email, we'll send it to you. It's just a really quick, simple access to, you can type in a few keyword phrases that match the type of audience you're trying to find or the type of program you're trying to promote, and it will help generate a whole lot of other ideas based on those keywords. Speaking of keeping up with changes, in the bottom left here, the Google's blog is another link to basically keep up with any of the changes and evolutions. And we recommend you do. If this is a part of your role at the school, it's really important that you have that coming into your inbox from time to time. So let's go through some of those current SEO and SERP best practices for schools. And again, this is where what's old is new again, because in terms of content creation, when you're writing the blog, for example, it's just as important today, if not more so, to create quality, relevant content that addresses the needs and the queries of your audiences. So research your audience, understand their motivations and their questions, and then write content that addresses those motivations, that answers those questions. Engage your local SEO. As you can see with this query, we've got boarding school in London, and with the first standard link, you've got boarding school in London. So make sure you're matching up with those pieces of content in your descriptions for your website, in your content. It's this easy, right? To be just spot on in every way. These are some really basic elements that you can have done. Another being just have an independent insight of the mobile friendliness of your website. Maybe you've done this recently, and if you haven't done it in a while, it's a great idea to have an independent group, we'd be happy to help and do it with no cost. We'd do a little mobile test to see just how mobile friendly it is. As you see, 61% of all traffic is mobile. I honestly think that's a low number. That feels low to me. But especially in our student population that we're trying to reach, it's probably way higher. And keep in mind that what we're talking about, the longer tail keywords, the more specific search, so that's, a search query that's maybe 8 or 10 words as opposed to 3, that really plays into the hands of voice search as well, right? That's exactly how voice searches are done. And you want to be able to match up with that as well. And then the importance of collecting reviews is, again, what's old is new again. These have been around forever, but they're more relevant than ever. And I can't tell you how many calls and conversations we have with schools that say, how do I get better reviews? So what we're suggesting here in terms of your best practice is to formally invite your students to review you, or formally invite your parents or your families, whatever category of people you want. That's not just, having it on your website or putting it in an e-newsletter, but I'm saying, like, in classes at the end of a term when they're graduating, literally look them in the eye, one to many or one to one, and invite them to review you on Google. It's really so helpful, and you can do it in a way that's comfortable for you, but unless you ask them directly, they're really not likely to do it. And by asking them, that's the best way to get rid of bad reviews, is to ask for reviews of the people who will give you a good review. So this is really the only way to get a bad review, to push it down and to get your star ranking higher. And then if you haven't, and so many people are today, but if you haven't already, you really need to go into the multimedia world in terms of as many or more images and videos, short videos especially, in terms of content for your website. And again, in YouTube or the different channels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, you want to be visible in all of these places as queries bring multimodal responses and information to the query. You want to be a part of that game. And then this is a great example we find of balancing SEO and user experience. Just take a look at this blog page. We love the way that it is categorized and subcategorized, that it's, again, kind of multimodal. You got some relevant images, you've got headlines, you've got a little snippet of information. And then as you click in and scroll, the engagement options on the left, the engagement options on the right, the layout that is, again, it's detailed yet digestible. There are images, there are bullets, there are, this is a great way to really go into, it's a great example of how things can be both SEO strong and friendly, but also understanding that this is user friendly. And as they read it and click on it, it's relevant, it's useful, it's helpful for them. Okay, so there's a rather technical aspect to a lot of these pieces that we want to introduce. Now, you don't have to be a coder to get into schema, but it basically maximizes the semantic value, and it's a type of coding called schema markup. So of all the words that we have visible in the semantics of this, what schema is going to do is make those words more easily visible to Google, and more easily visible to Google in the ways that it will include you in these rich results, in these SERP features. So basically, with the markup, your ratings and reviews will show. Without it, they will not. So it's a part of HTML that you can add to your web page to make your website more visible in these rich results. The way I like to think of it, first of all, many of you may already be visible in these rich results, and you haven't lifted a finger. And that's really a testament to your SEO actions to date. It means you're writing things that are relevant, clear, detailed, maybe bullet pointed, well labeled. Everything's really sharp and in place. And you're using SEO keywords, right? So you're studying them and applying them. That can happen organically, again, without lifting a finger, which is brilliant. What Schema allows you to do, it allows you to take all that up a few notches. So when Google is looking for, which sites or which content should I feature in the knowledge pack, in the local pack, in the people also ask, by including the Schema HTML, it's basically like putting your website on a bit of a silver platter so that your content is much more visible and easier for Google to just grab up and drop in there. So again, it can make you more visible in these review snippets, event listings, FAQ, knowledge graphs, and this gives you just an idea. So this is not a how-to tutorial, not at all. But on the left, of course, is the Schema coding. And on the right, it just shows you that it just calls out and identifies clearly context of the data, the type of a website, in this case, a school, the name of the school, the address of the school, the URL of your website, the logo of the school, the description of your school, the contact point. All of these things are just much more clearly defined as it's right here, it's right here, it's right here, it's right here, it's right here. Again, it really just kind of categorizes it in a really technical way so that behind the scenes, Google sees it much more clearly. So what we recommend at the bottom right is the link to schema.org, where you can learn more about this. So bring this to your IT folks to see how this can be done. It's also something we do at HEM. And the bottom left is that Google's structured data testing tool. That hyperlink takes you to what you see on the right. Basically, it'll tell you where you're visible, right? You're able to see where are we being seen in terms of the structured data, the rich features. So that's super helpful. So the key takeaways, it's as evolving and really in an amazingly helpful and smart and automated way. It's amazing that what's old is new again. Organic results and paid results are there on the SERP. The high rankings on the SERP increase your visibility. And of course, the higher you appear in those SERP rankings and results, the more conversions you're going to get, the more clicks you're going to get. It's more critical than ever that your content is expert. It showcases your experience. It showcases your authoritativeness, and it features your trustworthiness. And that's the idea, is to build that trustworthiness, right, of the user. And that we're going to, leverage the AI tools. And some of those aren't necessarily Gemini or within Google itself, but that other link of a keyword finder. Look for those quick, easy tools. And really the best way that we utilize AI at HEM, and that we've seen the best applications outside of HEM, is when you use AI to do kind of those longer menial tasks that used to take a whole lot of your time just to do the research, or to do the ideation, the brainstorming, or to do the search for the types of keywords that are best to meet. You can use AI in a great deal for those actions that are going to save you a whole lot of time and present you a whole lot of useful information that allows you to do the actual work, the thinking of applying now your understanding and knowledge of your school, your school's unique value propositions, and how do I take our school's unique value propositions and plug them into all of these aspects of keywords and optimization. And then you've got the resources for implementing schema markup. Again, it kind of puts your school on a silver platter and makes it more visible in those rich results, which they're going to increase clicks. They're going to increase those organic conversions. So we appreciate you being with us. We're wrapping up here, and I'm going to go try to find the Q&A here. There's participants. It's interesting. There's Q&A. Took me a minute. And if you have a question, we encourage you to type it in here to your Zoom menu bar. In the meantime, please feel free to reach out to us for a free SEO checklist. You can download it now. So again, it's another resource that'll be super helpful for you. So you can click here. And again, this is a good time to remind you this webinar is being recorded. So tomorrow or Monday in your email, you'll get this recording as well as the deck that we've gone through. And you'll get this link so you can download that. And then there, I know most of you are in the UK and Europe, so you can reach out to Eric, my colleague, my buddy, and he'll be happy to answer your questions more fully in SEO and all those aspects. And let's go to questions. How can we help Google to show our pages appearing as snippets? And another question, stars, ratings are only given through Google Review. Okay, so the first question is, how can we help Google to show our pages appearing as these snippets? And really, so there are the two ways. One is to really just work to make your content on your website detailed and digestible. Those are just kind of the great words to come away with. It's important to make, these bullet point lists they're super important. I know people say they kind of roll. I've seen people roll their eyes when I say bullet points, and I stand by them today because they really make things so scannable. Like, keep in mind how people read websites. They're just glancing, and they're glancing fast, and then they're scrolling. If they're on their phone, they're scrolling even faster. So bullets, are going to stand out, and they're going to stop at bullets because they're so much easier to read as opposed to a chunk of gray text that you're going to make me read through. Are you kidding me? So that's one way, just organically in the way that you present your content on your website. And then again, turn that up a couple of notches by adding the schema coding to your website. That makes all of that information, the name of your school, the type of your school, the unique value propositions of your school, more visible in these snippets. So the schema is really the big answer there. And then, so stars and ratings are not exclusive to Google. There are so many different places where you're collecting ratings. They could be in Yelp, in Facebook, in so many other places. So it's important, really, actually, to so I worked at a K-12, and I would sit with the parents when the parents came in from time to time, or with the board, and ask, where are you seeing or where are you hearing people are finding reviews and basically star ratings about our school? So you want to ask your constituents, your community members, ask them where they see the rankings. Ask your students or your prospects as they come in, because that'll tell you which, top 1, 2, or 3 of all those options are being used most often, where you're most visible, and you can also then try to work to encourage more people to give you the reviews there. All right. Should the multimedia content be different on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, or can it be the same video used? So basically, I would say it can be the same, clearly, because people are going to see, it's important that people see you, period. Let's kind of start at the core. So let's just consider they might be going on TikTok, they might be going on YouTube Shorts, and if they see you in one and not the other, at least they saw you. That's the big idea. You probably have that same content on both channels, but they saw it on one. And that's really, again, that's what matters. So it's not as if they see tomorrow or later this week or this weekend, they see that same video on a different channel, they're not going to think you're cheap and cheating. They're going to go, oh yeah, I know those guys. I've seen those guys. It's going to provide you just more exposure. And that's ultimately what we're looking to achieve here. The schema must be inserted in all pages or just the home page. So if you want to talk more about schema, feel free to reach out to us directly, but it gets placed on multiple pages across your website, not just the home page. So that schema coding will go across multiple pages. Yeah, schema markup. Thank you for sending in the questions. We really appreciate all the questions and appreciate your time. Want to make sure you get back to the rest of your day. I hope you have a great afternoon. I hope you found this helpful, and give us a call if we can help you out. Goodbye.